The predictive brain. Why are we blind to most opportunities? As I explored current neuroscience and psychology, I noticed a fascinating possibility. Many of the missed opportunities in our lives might not be due to luck or circumstance, but could actually result from how our brains process and predict the world. While neuroscience has mapped out the ways our minds use prior expectations to interpret information, what's called predictive processing, I have a video on predictive coding. It's day number 60. If you haven't seen it, you definitely want to watch that after this one. I believe this same system quietly filters out new possibilities before we ever consciously consider them. In this talk, I'm going to share my hypothesis built on what the science does show and explain why I think the way our brains predict reality could be the hidden reason so many opportunities slip by unnoticed. Just as importantly, the brain's way of interpreting the world isn't passive. Research in neuroscience describes predictive coding. The brain constantly generates expectations about what's coming based on prior experience and updates those expectations when reality diverges. This rapid events-driven updating, sometimes called Bayesian inference, explains how we efficiently process a world full of uncertainty. My hypothesis goes further. The very mechanisms that help us interpret familiar situations and minimize surprises may also filter out unfamiliar opportunities before we're consciously aware of them. Hey everyone, I'm Henry, and you're watching Day 65 on my channel, Henry's Millions, where I dive deep into psychology and neuroscience, helping you explore and master the forces that shape your life. Throughout this talk, I'm going to draw on research from Ladislav Kessner, 2014, Koster Hale and Sachs, 2013, and Jones and Love, 2011. These are great research papers that I found and spent quite a bit of time examining them. We're going to look into the concrete examples and evidence how opportunity blindness, as I call it, can be traced to the mechanisms of prediction, how the brain's priors, cultural hyperpriors, we're going to talk about these later. Don't worry, guys, don't sweat it. This is not a technical talk. This is not a very scientific, rigorous, mathematical talk. It's conceptual. You're going to love it. Emotion-driven prediction errors and experience-driven model updating. These explain not only perception, but also how we navigate every problem, challenge, and decision in life. So understanding predictive coding and Bayesian inference helps us identify exactly where our thinking goes wrong and gives us leverage to challenge the internal models that determine our choices. Later on in our talk, you'll be able to spot in real time where your brain's efficient shortcuts shut down your curiosity and growth. Well, it was difficult. Curiosity and growth. Your brain shuts them down. We're going to find out exactly how it does that. And later on, I'm going to give you 5 research-based actionable lessons to change that. You're going to want to stick around for this. All right, so the Bayesian brain, what a word. Mapping the predictive mind. It's named after a guy. This is a formula. It's a theorem. So the Bayesian brain mapping the predictive mind. So let's start by clarifying what scientists mean by the predictive brain. Your brain isn't passively recording what's around you. It's constantly making predictions. And every moment it uses what you already know, your memories, your habits, your beliefs, to form best guesses about what's likely. So when reality matches your guesses, your belief is reinforced. When reality doesn't, your brain experiences what's called a prediction error, prompting it to update its expectations. So this process is called Bayesian inference. In simple terms, your brain starts with a prior, which is an initial belief formed from previous experiences. And every new piece of evidence or sensory data is compared against those priors. If the evidence fits, your expectations stay the same. If not, your brain recalculates, building what's called a posterior belief, a new, better informed model. So this method, inspired by probability theory and Bayes' theorem lets you navigate a world full of uncertainty without starting from scratch every time. So predictive coding takes this theory further. Neuroscientists describe how the brain actively anticipates incoming sensory information, constantly matching predictions against real sensory data. And the differences between the two are prediction errors. Your brain's goal is to minimize these errors efficiently. It wants reality to be as unsurprising as possible. Guys, pay attention to every single word here. So I know you've heard these words before separately, but this is really what the brain is doing. And I've tried to make this as conceptual, as non-technical as possible. So your brain wants reality to be as unsurprising as possible. In daily life, this means when you walk into a familiar setting, your brain expects certain sights, sounds, and experiences, and you only really pay attention if something unexpected happens. For example, sitting in a meeting, you don't analyze every person in the room. Your brain runs on expectation and only updating its model if you see something surprising, like someone new joining. So crucially, this method of filtering isn't just about sensory processing. According to Kestner, it extends to how you interpret challenges and opportunities. And this is where I repurpose their research. So originally on art perception and predictive coding. So when faced with something ambiguous, your mind draws on past experience, sometimes prematurely. For instance, if you've previously found a job interview stressful or unsuccessful, your brain's prior experience may lead you to downplay or ignore promising new roles before even giving them a chance. So this can mean that possibilities are filtered out long before you've consciously evaluated them. And Kessler describes that opportunity blindness is often not a conscious choice, but a built-in mental routine. So he's talking about predictive coding in terms of the visual arts, but I'm talking about blindness to opportunity, repurposing his research. So it causes this built-in mental routine. The urge to quickly interpret, label, and move on can cause missed connections, stifled experimentation, and overlooked solutions. So understanding predictive coding isn't just an academic exercise. Recognizing that the brain operates by constantly updating beliefs, anchored in recently acquired evidence, influenced by prior experience, helps us see why we're prone to stick with the known and overlook the new. So the next step is to examine how the unexamined mindset, right? You have a mindset. I'm going to tell you all about this. But you're not examining it. You're not looking into what it is, what it's made out of, and is it working for you or not. It's built on these prediction routines. It deepens this selective attention. Okay, your unexamined mindset deepens this selective attention, filtering what you consider possible before you even begin. Okay, so how does your mindset filter opportunity? So let's look more precisely at how your mindset acts as a filter on what you see and pursue in life, because of the way your predictive brain operates according to scientific models. So Kestner says, I quote, "Jointly, these three aspects form a mindset, which determines the generation of top-down expectations and predictions." He goes on to discuss what these three aspects that make up your mindset. I know you've heard this word mindset so many times before. It's all over books and the internet. No one really explains exactly what is this mindset. He was so eloquent in explaining this. It's three things. Your mindset is made up of your personality traits / affective style. For example, if somebody is neurotic and anxious, I'm giving you some examples here. And then number two, context-related, culture-influenced skills and knowledge. I put it together this way, okay? I'm paraphrasing. Skills and knowledge that's contextual and affected by culture. And third, temporary physical and psychological condition. These three things make up your mindset. These variables account for the individual differences that we all have in perception. So neuroscience shows that even before you consciously assess a new situation, your brain deploys what Kessner calls hyperpriors. These are deeply ingrained background expectations shaped by your personal experiences, culture, upbringing, education, social environment, even your current physical or mental state. So hyperpriors are like invisible built-in rules about what counts as real possibility, what's considered normal, or even what risks or creative detours are worth your attention. So for example, the kind of jobs you think are available to someone like you, the relationships you believe you could have, or the projects you consider realistic. All of these are shaped by your hyperpriors. So this is why, as Kessner's research demonstrates, even highly intelligent, motivated people rarely meet challenges with fresh eyes. Instead, you map the new onto the old, matching unfamiliar opportunities against established mental templates and labels, such as, oh, this is too risky, this is not for me, or I already know how this turns out. Psychology refers to this as a attentional set, your brain's tendency, once primed, with a category to overlook everything that doesn't fit. So what's the consequence of this? Every time you encounter a new environment, idea, or person, these hyperpriors are operating in the background, unconsciously narrowing your bandwidth for novelty and growth. Are you listening to this, guys? This is so important. They help you navigate life efficiently, but that same efficiency means you're likely to filter out real opportunity that simply fall outside your trained expectations. So according to Kessner, as soon as your brain recognizes a situation as familiar, mental exploration tends to stop. He says, I quote, "The act of recognition ends further exploration." Let that sink in. This is so important. The act of recognition ends further exploration. When you recognize something, when you label it and identify it, further exploration is done. So after a label is applied, quote, "not worth my time," or "too strange," or "same old story," further curiosity or experimentation is shut down. So this means a fresh challenge or creative idea can be dismissed in seconds, not because it lacks potential, but because it didn't resonate with your hyperprior. I'm going to give you just an amazing, simple anecdote by Rudolf Arnheim in 1992. Okay? It captures how this instant labeling shuts down your exploration. I want you to remember this short anecdote for the rest of your life. I hope you do. This is so crucial. Okay, here goes. It's very short, but just remember this. I quote, "I remember once watching a teacher with her second graders approaching a piece of abstract sculpture in a museum gallery. 'What is this?' asked the children. The teacher, very unsure herself, went closer and looked at the label under the sculpture. 'Gift of Mr. and Miss Oscar Verlinsky,' she read. The children, satisfied, moved on to the next object." This underscores how we approach and perceive almost everything in life. Guys, the label, we're satisfied, it's done, move on. We're not exploring, we're not investigating, we're not finding and looking for the opportunities, we're not seeing what's all that's there. So to break this pattern, it's not enough to just try harder or be more open-minded. It takes a moment of conscious pause, a habit researchers call metacognition. So this means actively catching yourself when you recognize a snap judgment or default reaction and asking, wait, what if there's more here than my first impression? So creating mental space at the moment can slow down the autopilot and give you truly new information a fighting chance. So in a world overloaded with choices and distractions, this scientific habit of conscious openness becomes essential if you want to expand your capacity for growth and opportunity. Let's talk for a little bit about emotions, emotional calibration. I know what you're thinking. Everybody wants to run away from emotions here. Just bear with me. You're going to enjoy this, okay? Because it has a hand in it. So let's turn to the role of, that emotion plays in the operation of predictive processing and why it matters for missed opportunities. That's what we're talking about here today. Neuroscience research shows that your brain's predictions and your emotional responses are tightly interwoven. They're not separate streams. Every expectation you hold is colored by affect, by emotions. When what you expect matches reality, you experience relief or satisfaction. When things diverge, your emotional system sends up a signal, often anxiety, tension, or discomfort, flagging a prediction error for your brain to pay attention to. You know, if you dig deep into the neuroscience of this, it's fascinating how they've actually mapped and measured neurons in your brain that are the prediction, carrying the predictions, and then error neurons that are bringing back the response or signals, the sensory signals. It's just fascinating how they've been able to identify this interplay. So the prediction errors carry this negative valence, negative affect, and your expectation, your predictions are positive. So Koster-Hale, 2013, makes it clear these emotional signals aren't add-ons, but an integrated part of your brain's prediction machinery. For example, before you consciously weigh whether to take a creative task, your brain references the facts and also how similar situations felt in the past. So I'm giving you the science behind things that you're experiencing already. You're relating to it, but this is the science beneath that. So if those memories are linked to embarrassment, anxiety, or failure, your body primes you with caution before you have a chance to consider the situation, the new situation. The brain, aiming to minimize prediction error, learns to avoid context where emotional surprises have been negative. And Kestner expands on this by showing that emotion serves as an internal filter for what information you pay attention to. If your history includes challenges that led to negative feelings, your predictive system generates discomfort when facing similar scenarios, even though the facts may be totally different. So this automatic process keeps you from taking small beneficial risks. Social neuroscience further demonstrates the subtle cues, body language, tone, group mood, activate emotional predictions. And the result is that your mental radar for openness or withdrawal gets tuned more by effective memory rather than by new objective evidence. All right, take another sip of your coffee. We got a little ways to go here. This is really useful for you. Half an hour of this, it's going to save you from dozens and dozens of hours of research, and even worse, current books that only offer 1 or 2 pages of value buried deep in 200 pages of filler. All right, so empirical research supports that positive affect, good mood, optimism, increases the likelihood you'll notice options and take exploratory action. Negative affect does the opposite, leading to risk aversion and a tendency to stick with routine. And Koster-Hale's work in social prediction shows that our readiness to connect, trust, or try something new is modulated by whether recent emotional experiences reinforced or violated our expectations. So the takeaway isn't just that emotion can trap you. It's that these effective reactions are reliable markers for hidden prediction errors. Rather than treating discomfort or hesitation as reasons to retreat, use them as cues for inquiry. When you feel your attention narrow or resistance flare up, pause and ask, what expectation is being challenged here? Am I reacting to the current evidence or an outdated emotional template? The scientific habit of using emotion as data is essential for expanding your field of possibility. Okay, now let's move on to memory constraint. Henry, give me the 5 tips and let's get on with it already. They're going to make so much more sense when we finish this, okay? I really appreciate you being here. I know this is well over half-hour talk that we're having, but think about it. What an investment that you can use for the rest of your life. Half hour. That's a half hour that could be spent doom scrolling, or I don't know, watching something just for entertainment, its and giggles on YouTube. This half hour is an investment for the rest of your life. I don't know what value you can place on that. Probably a lot. All right, memory constraint. Memory constraint, the tyranny of experience. So let's examine how your past experiences, what you've learned, suffered, or achieved, not only guide but also limit your openness to new opportunities. In the framework of Bayesian inference, each time you're confronted with a new situation, your brain draws upon stored priors, their beliefs and expectations built from your own personal history. So this process is efficient. It allows fast decisions using past results to predict future probabilities. But it also means that novel experiences or surprising possibilities can be missed if they don't fit the established patterns stored in your memory. So Kessner explains that the brain's use of memory and prediction is inherently context-dependent and sensitive. When you encounter something unfamiliar, like a chance to apply for a different kind of job, start a new relationship, or learn a skill, you automatically retrieve similar past events as templates to judge the current one. If your previous attempts brought discomfort or failure, those affective memories can bias you toward avoidance, skepticism, rejection, even before you objectively assess the new evidence. Okay, so in Bayesian terms, negative priors weigh so heavily that they drown out new data and possibilities. So if your personal narrative is rich with stories of rejection or disappointment, your brain's predictive machinery expects more of the same, focusing your attention on obstacles or flaws and filtering out encouraging signs. Even intense positive memories can create inertia, prompting you to chase the same kinds of goals, relationships, or solutions even when times have changed or new options are more adaptive. Ships do sail. So Kessler particularly notes that the ability to decipher a situation and the best course of action is limited or severely constricted because it depends chiefly on the subject's own individual memories and experiences. Are you getting this? Repeat this video if you have to. It is useful. It's so useful. I spent a lot of time thinking about this. Gosh, how much we're missing from this world. Maybe half of you are left at this point, but I applaud you, by the way. It's fascinating how much we miss. You know Michael Singer, the philosopher that he's a speaker on. He's got some videos on YouTube. Fantastic. He says something that his jokes about that people say, I don't want to miss a thing. I don't want to miss a thing. And he jokes about, he says, you're missing everything all the time. Truly, we are missing everything all the time in life. But he explains that from a different perspective and on a different topic than what I'm talking about here. But the ideas are the same. We are missing so many opportunities. So let's see here. To counteract this effect, research suggests you need to deliberately update your priors, actively seeking experiences that challenge your dominant narrative, exposing yourself to new contexts or feedback, and inviting perspectives from outside your usual circles. So when you intentionally engage with unfamiliar information or environments, your brain's predictive models become broader, less likely to impose outdated limits or new opportunities. This process, sometimes called model updating in neuroscience, is the foundation for growth beyond what your past would dictate. I don't think Singer is a philosopher. I gave him that label, but he's very good. All right, let's move on. Let's get serious, guys. Come on. Get some coffee. Pause this and come back if you have to. Just stick with me till the end here, okay? And feel free to repeat this later on, share this with a friend. This is so useful. Just imagine you're listening to 10 songs, guys. This is an investment in your future. All right, labeling. Let's talk about labeling and closure and curiosity. So predictive processing allows you to swiftly categorize the world to minimize uncertainty and prediction error. This means that as soon as you encounter something new, your brain immediately tries to fit it into an existing category or template. If it finds a good enough match, it stops searching. Your focus shifts and your curiosity comes to a halt. So this shortcut has evolutionary roots, helping our ancestors react quickly to threats or opportunities. But in today's world, when most decisions are ambiguous and high value comes from innovation, this cognitive habit can turn into a liability. For example, at work, you may dismiss an idea as impractical or not my responsibility because it doesn't fit your established mental categories. In creative fields, rapid labeling can stop exploration or unfamiliar solutions. In relationships, it can keep you from seeing people in a new light. So this tendency towards premature closure is what Jones and Love call the risk of Bayesian fundamentalism. Oh, these just wonderful words, phrases. Bayesian fundamentalism. It's the brain's bias to favor the simplest, fastest explanation and move on. In a complex environment, this can result in overlooked options or failure to recognize when old models need updating. So for the real-world context, imagine hearing advice in a self-help talk and instantly dismissing it as something you've heard before. Your mind's early labeling kicks in, preventing you from discovering whether there's nuance or an update relevant to your needs now. So instead of allowing the first label or categorization to end your consideration, use it as a starting point. Ask yourself, if my first impression isn't the full story, what else could this be? This habit of open-ended curiosity is a strategic practice that increases your chances of uncovering new opportunities in everyday situations and big life decisions. All right, the theory of mind. Guys, are our brains growing at this point? So many videos about neuroscience now. I don't know if my head looks the same. All right, theory of mind. This is a great one, guys. You may have heard of this. I'll give you a short summary or update on theory of mind. It's very interesting. So let's turn to a uniquely human capability within the predictive brain. Theory of mind is the ability to think about what others know, want, or intend. So according to social neuroscience research, the very same predictive coding principles that govern basic perception also apply to our social world. Your brain doesn't only predict what you'll see or hear, it constantly makes probabilistic forecasts about other people's beliefs, desires, and likely behavior, right? Theory of mind is how you're able to, because you have a mind and you understand how a mind operates, you make these guesses about how someone else's mind is operating. Why are they doing what they're doing? What must their beliefs be? What are their intentions? And so on. So here's how this works. When you encounter someone new or engage with a group, your brain's mentalizing network, another great word, mentalizing network. This is so I'm gonna help you feel really smart right now. You probably are super intelligent already. Thank you for watching. So quickly, this is regions we're talking about here, the mentalizing network, the superior temporal sulcus, the medial prefrontal cortex. It rapidly applies prior knowledge from similar past encounters, which are memories, stereotypes, emotional associations, to predict what others are likely to do or how they will respond. So Kosterhill and Sachs showed that this effect in brain imaging studies, where unexpected or surprising actions from other people trigger spikes in neural activity, reflecting a social prediction error. So the greater the surprise, the more your brain updates its expectations about that person. Henry, what the heck does this mean? Okay, so in everyday life, this means if your previous attempts at networking or collaboration led to embarrassment or rejection, your predictive system primes you to expect the same outcomes in the future. So you withdraw or hold back. Quick mental labels like unfriendly, not my crowd, or not interested often reflect rapid predictions, not facts. They are built on priors and shaped by culture and past interaction patterns. So misreading social cues isn't simply a flaw of intuition. It's the brain's drive for efficiency at work, attempting to minimize social uncertainty and avoid emotional surprise. So what is the solution? So active research-based theory of mind means deliberately questioning your first assumptions about others. When engaging, pause to ask, what didn't fit my expectations? Am I missing something? Is my assumption based on current evidence or just on old priors? So seek more data, ask more questions, be open to nonverbal signals, and challenge yourself to interpret surprising behavior as an opportunity for new understanding, not as a reason to be offended or shocked. All right, so let's move on to what I call escaping the cage. Okay, these are the 5 practical, actionable lessons we've been waiting for. Thank God, Henry. All right, how do we actively counter these built-in mental constraints? Research provides several evidence-based strategies. Let's get to it. Number 1, notice automatic labeling and pause. So awareness is the first scientifically supported tool. As soon as you catch yourself rapidly dismissing a person, idea, or decision, stop for a moment. Introducing this small interval disrupts your default mode prediction cycle. Okay? Create some mental room for alternative information to be considered. So the key question here, adapted from Kestner, is this my prior talking, or is there truly nothing new? Number 2, use emotions as information, not commands. Alarm, boredom, discomfort, these are outputs of your brain's prediction error minimization process. If this video has bored you somehow, it's not my fault. It's your brain's prediction error minimization process. You have to fight that for your benefit. All right, they're not always reliable guides for what's truly possible. Okay, so Koster-Hale showed, and other studies showed that by treating emotional spikes as prediction errors, not reasons to leave, but prompts for more questioning, you can recognize when your effective response is a relic of past failures rather than a rational reaction to the current situation. Number 3, update your personal narrative. So priors aren't fixed. They're updated by exposure to disconfirming evidence. Intentionally seeking input from diverse sources, making small experiments outside your comfort zone, and asking friends or colleagues for reality checks. They all help rewrite your internal models. Okay, deliberate model updating strengthens your neural circuits for openness. It reduces your brain's tendency to shut down. Number 4, replace closure with curiosity. I'm not talking about your ex-boyfriend and girlfriend here. Listen up. So Jones and Love define Bayesian enlightenment as the active questioning of your own beliefs and mental shortcuts. When your mind settles quickly on a judgment, practice immediately searching for exceptions to the rule or alternative explanations like, what am I missing? Would a different perspective change what I see here? So this self-challenging increases the likelihood of identifying new solutions and spotting opportunities that others miss. And 5, broaden your social prediction consciously. Since much opportunity depends on others, use theory of mind strategies. So before assuming that someone is closed off or uninterested, gather more evidence. Ask clarifying questions. Double check your assumptions. And treat ambiguous signals as invitations to learn, not reasons to expect rejection, guys. All right, so the practical reinforcement here is track moments when you see yourself labeling or reacting automatically. Notice uncomfortable feelings that lead you to withdraw. Do they match the facts? And once in a while, seek out a task, a conversation, or environment that contradicts your routine. Okay? So, in this talk today, we've explored the neuroscience of missed opportunity, how your predictive mind, originally shaped by evolution for survival, now silently influences which doors you see as open or closed in your life. The brain's machinery does not simply process information. It predicts, labels, and updates internal models at every moment. The system is efficient and robust, but it can become limiting if your priors and hyperpriors are never questioned or updated, right? Those are the deep background expectations from personal and cultural history. Okay? So the boundaries of our opportunity the boundaries of our opportunity landscape are drawn not by the world, but by the models our brains build and reinforce. So you can thank yourself for listening to your curiosity today. Stay aware, stay open, and keep challenging the predictions your brain tries to make for you. They once kept you safe, but now they're your starting point for growth. YouTube thinks you should watch this next video from my channel as best for viewer recommendation. Don't look at me. Remember to like and subscribe to my channel, Henry's Millions. Every time.